Welcome there friends, welcome back to Doggerland, and I guess a little bit more specifically, welcome back to this little French village that we built in the last episode. It does have a name, and I'll share that with you in just a moment, but before we get there, let's have a little chat about what we're going to get up to in today's episode, because I do think it's going to be kind of interesting. So this little town is probably the most picturesque town that I've ever built in City Skylines, and I reckon we lean into that quite a lot today. I reckon we make this place a real tourist destination. We get people from all corners of the map visiting this little town and just exploring, staying in the hotels, and just really living it up. And you know, I say picturesque, but there is still so much more work to do, and it's really only from certain angles because, you know, as much as I love this, I can't say I love the other side of the river. And then even looking at it from other corners, you know, there's still so many sections of all of this that I am just not totally happy with. So detailing this up and making it look extra beautiful, I think is going to be very lovely. Get out of here, Cloud. Ooh, that's quite nice. So details and adding in more tourist destinations down here is going to be key. So I think that it's going to look very pretty by the end of all this. But I would also like to see tourists down here. At the moment, there's no one. In fact, all that blue means that we are at the very lowest of lows in terms of attractiveness. Even though it is actually getting kind of picturesque down here, in terms of getting people and tourists around our town, no one is down here. So I'm hoping that by the end of this, we'll see all green, you know, just like big chunks of green, lots of parks, lots of tourist destinations, lots of sightseeing, and maybe even a couple of little hotels popping up. I think that'll be beautiful. But first, the name. Let's stop calling this a little town, and this is now officially named, and thank you all so much for your name suggestions, D'Ux Coats. Yeah, so that's the name of this town, D'Ux Coats, and no, it's not. Okay, so I don't know how to speak French. I can barely speak English. And anytime I chuck this into Google to pronounce it, it doesn't really give me anything. So first of all, how do I pronounce this name? I do really like it. This was a name suggestion from one of you guys, and it does translate to two sides, which is in reference to two sides of the river. However, I'm going to take it as two sides of a coin because I'm like a two-sided type of coin guy. But do keep names coming and let me know how to pronounce it in French and in German next time we build something, because that'll be the German pack. But that's enough of all that. Let's attract some tourists. Hello. Just a little person walking through the park, which is always just so lovely to see. So dragged out a couple of little invisible paths just through this custom park that I've created. I did try to get this guy to stick to one of these, but unfortunately, that is just the limitation. But you can get away with some sneaky behavior, just dragging him away from the road, and removing some of the props that you don't really want does help. And adding in just a couple of parks, I can already see people down there, which is lovely, and adding in the tiniest bit of green, but that is, we're gonna need a whole lot more if we're gonna see some tourists down here. But it's just nice seeing people walk around a little bit more because we really didn't have anyone before, which is great. I have also placed this park, but I have no intention to keep any of the props. So I'm going to use Better Bulldozer, and I'm going to remove all these little bits and pieces, remove the random rocks. There's a bin there, and that is that's everything. And now we're just left with a park that sits there, and that's great. I wish I had enough room to place something around here because I'd love to see people make the journey over to this point, but we don't really have anything in terms of a park that we can fit in a little corner like this. Let's try a couple of things. First of all, I do have a path which is now stretching out here, so people can technically walk along our little break wall. I am going to try one thing first, which I don't have a huge amount of confidence with because I haven't had much luck with it before, but this park area, I'll see if people will wander out this way. But like I said, I've never seen people actually use it, so let's see what happens with that. I'm going to add something a bit different. These were just added to the Paradox mods. I was about to say Steam Workshop, But Sully, once again for the win, has created a whole bunch of civilians, which are just going to act like props. And I mean, she's doing a bit of a T-pose, but if I place her, is she going to... just going to stand there. Strike a pose. I'll give her a son. And maybe she's there with her mum. You know what? It could be a whole family. Aw, how sweet. You know what? That actually adds so much. You know, just having people standing along here, I know they're just props, but the fact that they are moving about and, you know, I can kind of place them and have them looking out and enjoying the view, because you won't actually have people just kind of like, you know, this person here is just kind of standing randomly in the middle of nowhere. These people, I like the fact that they are now all facing out towards the UK. But there is just something about the fact that they are kind of standing all together. We have the mum and the kids standing close. I don't know, man. That's kind of nice. Okay, so I am having a bit of fun with this. I am enjoying thinking about the groups of people that I'm placing down and why they are standing in particular areas, and thinking about like the groups that they're with. These guys are just kind of like hanging there next to the park, and then I've also placed down these people next to a car, kind of like they've just jumped out and are deciding which way they're going to go, and then just a couple of other little people just looking out, enjoying the views. And whenever I go to places like this, my family, me and my son like to walk on these rocks, so put a couple of kids there, just kind of, I mean, just striking a pose on the rocks. Be nice if they were jumping around, but hey, that's fine. I actually think that this does add quite a lot. It's amazing what people standing around in groups in realistic ways adds to your city. But I know what you're thinking. $2, this is doing nothing. These are just props. Like, what are they doing for the tourism? Bugger all, my friend. Bugger all. I mean, we are basically placing down the simplest and most basic of parks. So yes, it is adding a touch of green amongst a sea of blue. But yes, we are placing down the absolute barest of bones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock a couple of extra things. You know what? Let's just go all out. I know we can't afford tourist attractions. I'm actually not too worried about that. I mean, it only includes 4 buildings, so that is fine. I can live about that. Atta girl. Yeah, use the path. How wonderful. I mean, it's a bit janky. It's totally janky, but it's a bit of a whatever job. I'm just happy that people are using that little path, and a couple of people are just walking along the beach. I mean, this isn't a super popular beach, and I dare say that people are not coming to this little historical section for this beach. I mean, if they are, they're going to probably go to this one. This is mostly it's just kind of there. If anything, I feel like they need to be around here shopping and going in and out of the places that are around here. So let's lean into that as well. And once we hit that next milestone, I'm going to convert some of these buildings into mixed zoning. We've just hit the next milestone, so I do think this is a good time to lower some taxes, especially for our commercial, because I do want to start getting in some mixed zoning, and we have zero demand for it at the moment. But I should probably address some of the services which our citizens are starting to complain about, And this gives us a good opportunity to place down a couple more of these French assets. In particular, I am interested in this French medical clinic. I think that it would work really well down here just because it's a bit more of a historical building, so it can add to that charm. And it is such a good fit. I'm just going to place him right there, and that is quite a nice looking building. I mean, I really couldn't have planned it any better. That is a really nice fit for that corner. It just feels like, first of all, it is the perfect fit, and it just changes the color of some of the buildings around here just to mix it up ever so slightly. Okay, no mural, just divine. I don't know, kind of works. Yeah, I know, it's a little much. I mean, that is a bit of infrastructure for a whole lot of nothing, and a road down here which is already getting fairly busy. Still just one lane in each direction. So why am I doing this? My reason behind this is that I think something big is going to go here. Some sort of attraction. At the moment, all I can really think about is some sort of community pool, but I feel like even saying a little bit bigger than that. So that's why I've upgraded him already. I'm just kind of getting ready for something to go in this area to attract people. I don't think anything in terms of something historical. In fact, all this area is not going to be very historical. It's going to have very much a recent development type of vibe. And the reason why I'm doing that compared to an area like this, which is way more historical, is because I reckon, this is like a bit of headcanon for me, but I reckon that this area of the city, of the town, could have at one stage been maybe some sort of industry. There could have been some sort of rail line that sat around here, or rail yard. So this won't be historical. I feel like I'm going to do some more modern buildings, and we'll chuck them down in just a moment. And that's the reason why I'm not really going to do anything historical right here. I feel like this could be something a bit more modern, and still trying to figure that out. And I kind of like that contrast between the two areas. I think it gives good reasoning behind why this road is already so wide, and I just think it's going to get people to our little town. We're making good money, so I think that this is a good time just to speed through a couple of months, a couple of weeks maybe, and let's see what we can buy up. Alright guys, a little bit of time has passed, and I've just been spending the time expanding into some of the, well, what feels like the outer edges of the town. I don't think we're going to go too much past this area, maybe a couple of blocks, but that is about it. Then we'll get deeper into this farmland, which, I tell you what, I feel like it's going to be a really nice transition. The area that I'm talking about is up on the slopiest of slopes. Oh man, this is some steep territory, but you know, I really do enjoy working in these areas, particularly when you've got nice tiny buildings to work with. I am mixing in some of the classic, the standard, the generic European assets, and it's a bit of a stretch, to be honest. It's definitely not an easy task. They are very different to the French ones, and I dare say that we'll most probably swap them out for whatever the other packs are going to look like. I reckon there's going to be some, and what I've already looked at so far, I reckon some of the Germany pack is going to fit here. And then I also reckon the UK pack is definitely sporting some assets that I think would be way better than some of these ones. But they are up here for now, and I do think it's important just to kind of mix in some different types of like slightly different types of architecture. So that's what this is. I am a bit of a fan of these two larger apartments. I really love the angle, and I really like that they are just kind of turning this place into a bit more of a modern city. We are kind of like teetering on city. I mean, we're not really teetering on city. We are still classified as a tiny town, but I don't think that's going to last for very much longer. But all these little houses and all these little streets, I am a big fan of, and will continue to expand into some of these areas. Down here, it's getting all very interesting, but we'll probably get down there and work on some extra little bits and pieces. And like I mentioned before I got into the build, I do plan to make this very much a area that is under some new construction. So newer buildings around here, and then the older part is going to be around here. And can I just say, all through this area is still very much a work in progress. I would like this to very much represent the old town, and we're going to be down here in just a moment. But first, let me just show you something. Look at these guys. These guys are having a big old complaint. They have no road access, and I've done that because, and it's not intentional. So what I've done down here is I did make this street into a retaining wall, at least one side of it, and I really like that. So then I made this side of it, made this street also have a retaining wall, and I feel like that is really nice just to create that elevated area for these two apartments to sit at. Just create some nice little, oh, that's not very nice. We'll fix it up in just a moment, but I feel like it's working pretty well. Two things though are not working. First of all, let's fix this shadow, because that's not very nice, and that's something that you can fix within graphic settings. And I've just got to turn off terrain cast shadows, and that fixes that issue. And then Bob's your uncle, all easy, no problems at all. Nah, okay. We obviously do have this problem. They have no road access, and I am hoping that if I get this little alley, perhaps I can drag him up here. I have turned off snapping, and we don't want him to make any sort of elevation, and let's just drag him out. Ooh, kind of like the way it's connecting to that road. Okay, that's pretty sweet. What about a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit, bingo. All right, problem solved, and I feel like that is pretty sweet, just a nice little bit of detail. I love it. I've also been laying down a whole bunch of little bushes around here, and I'm looking forward to detailing it up, but I'm going to put a pin in it. I'm also putting a pin down here because I don't love it. I feel like a bit more of a shiny feature, something of a nice building should sit here, not this ugly guy. So this is the one that I'm thinking about. I think the Ludo Square would be a nice addition down here. The question is though, does the French mixed zoning classify as the EU mixed zoning? Let's find out. No dice. Alright, well, I have just placed a whole bunch of mixed zoning, although it is French mixed zoning, not EU mixed zoning. So, don't be mad, but I am just gonna place it anyway. I mean, I feel like it's so necessary. We need it. We're detailing. We need to place this building. And to be honest, I'm probably not going to zone out, what is it? Geez, 5,000 units of EU mixed zoning. It's not going to happen now because we've just got far better assets. I don't want to zone this one. I want to zone this one. I know you're not mad. But I have to admit, I am on a bit of a mission now to redevelop all these blocks, all the blocks that I have just zoned out and kind of just left because they are just not doing it for me. We can do far better than this. I mean, look at this block. So much nicer. So I'm going to remove all of these guys, all this ugly zoning, and we're going to replace it with something far nicer. But you see this block here? I'm going to leave that for now because I've actually got something a little bit more impressive in mind. Busy, busy, busy. Oh boy, I've been pretty busy. Now, I decided not to take you for the ride. I just feel like it could get a bit repetitive. I've just been expanding, going block by block, adding in those little bits of detail, but mostly just trying to figure out where certain buildings are going, and yeah, it can get a little bit old. So I'll just show you what I've done instead. But I have chosen this moment to dive back in and show you because things are getting a bit hectic. We are starting to struggle with garbage piling up, and we need an extra hospital, and we do need to fix up this road because it is getting rather hectic. So let's dive in and I'll talk about some of the things. And also, we are making a good amount of money, and we've got a bit of money in the bank and got some pretty good cash flow, which is great because I am leading up to something, adding the cherry on top, which I think is going to really boost our tourism. Oh, by the way, let's have a little look at that tourism. It is for sure improving because I am doing something that I think is rather fun. We are making a smidge of money on hotels. A couple of hotels over here, which is kind of saying the worst place to have a hotel. So we'll have to reposition them into some of the better places for people to stay at. But I have just been going block by block, thinking about where certain buildings are going to go and its positioning. In particular, I really love where this little elementary school is. I just feel like that is such a nice little spot for it. But it is amazing how much detail you can add just by thinking about where certain buildings go and just adding in like the smallest little bits of detail, like these pretend bollards, which are just flagpoles just sunk into the ground. And, I feel like that's pretty necessary. We got little back alleys and just changes of roof color and even the materials that the certain buildings are made out of. I feel like just changes things a little bit, and also just like piling or putting certain buildings into blocks. I feel like this is kind of all the same type of materials being used. Maybe they were all built at the same time, or maybe they were kind of all connected at some time, but now they're probably just sporting some sort of commercial down below and people living up top. But this could have been some sort of larger complex back in the day. Also adding in ugly buildings because I do love contrast like that. So we do have this truly hideous commercial building, and then we've got just a couple of low rent houses, which I really love just seeing differences like that. And it's kind of like a nice transition from what is like a beautiful heart and center of the town of pretty much becoming a city. And then we've got like some areas that are just a little bit more dingy and not quite as nice. But I don't know, I feel like little differences like that definitely is a bit more realistic. I've also just been thinking about where certain little bits of commercial are sitting. So these are like two commercial buildings just spliced in together with just like simple parking. And I feel like this is like the sort of road that would sit on, and it's a good use of space where we've got this, little corner, which is a bit tricky to zone on. So a bit of parking works pretty well, and I've done the same for this little guy too. I've also gone through into a section like this, and I really wanted to use some more of these buildings, but I felt like they were all of a similar style and architecture, similar to these ones, but also slightly different. And I decided to splice them in together and kind of create like a couple of blocks of, I don't know, maybe this is some sort of government building, or maybe this is like a museum, but it's definitely something all part and all connected into one sort of unit. So I quite like it. I feel like it works really well in an area like that and just creates subtle differences. It's not just all the same zoned out areas. It's when you do splice buildings together and kind of like turn them into little parks and add the similar types of trees around them, it does give the illusion and a bit of perspective of they are all connected in some shape or form. So I'm not really sure what the purpose is behind this, but I feel like this would be somewhat of a tourist attraction. So getting to that, we're going to make this into a tourist attraction. What I've been doing is every time I place down a building that I feel like is somewhat noteworthy, if I was to come to this little town, I would definitely come to this police station. Yes, it is a police station, but it's still pretty, it's a nice little police station. It's quite grand, and I would definitely swing by and take a couple of pictures. And I reckon it does need to behave that way in City Skylines too. So what I've been doing is I've been adding in parks into these buildings. This one is, there's like 3 parks spliced into this one. Each one of these parks is adding 5 points of outdoor recreation, which is attracting more tourists and adding more land value to our city, which is lovely. So that's been my technique. Pretty much anywhere that I'm adding something that is, I feel like, a bit of a tourist attraction, I think it deserves a bit of recreation bonuses. For this guy down here, I feel like this would also be an area that would be adding to that tourism. So let's splice in a couple of these guys into it. And let's see, I might just speed up and we'll see if that changes any of these colors. I don't know. At the moment, it's not really doing anything. Oh, and there we go. Beauty. But you know, that is pretty teeny tiny compared to some of the larger buildings. So for instance, I have placed down one of these multi-purpose parks, and this is adding, what, only 5? Geez, that's bugger all as well. Some of these definitely add far more than others, so you do need to think about how we can use these and think about what like certain parts of the city would be attracting for tourists. At least this is how I like to play the game, just thinking about things like this. But again, these are teeny tiny. There's one building that I think is going to add tons and tons of tourism to the city. The Notre Dame. I mean, we got to. First of all, we do need some sort of cathedral within the city. You can't build a French, or you can't even really build a European city without building some sort of cathedral. This is, of course, the only cathedral / church in City Skylines 2, which is an absolute bummer. I mean, they are so necessary for building cities, not just European cities, but just building cities in general. There should be like 10 of them, and they should all vary and differ from one another, because that is just kind of how it is. Pretty much any sort of neighborhood you would go to, and definitely any city you go to, would have some sort of cathedral or religious building. So not having anything like that in City Skylines, just having like probably the most noteworthy of cathedrals is kind of annoying. So I am going to place it down, and look at that, 125 recreation. That's pretty nuts. So I do want that. I think that's going to add tons, and I would like to build it right here. I think that'll be pretty amazing. So that's the plan. It does cost an arm and a leg, so I do need to wait a little bit more until we can actually place it down, and we'll see what sort of a change it makes for our tourism within our city. So we'll just have to wait and see for that. In the meantime, I do need to make some fixes, because we are struggling with healthcare, and we are struggling with traffic, and yeah, I mean, it's all to do with traffic, isn't it? I mean, our garbage situation, a lot of these problems are stemming from this one road, which is the only road across our river. So I do have an idea of how we can fix that. Alright, it's a lot, but I tell you what, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be heaps of fun when we actually start detailing it up properly and seeing what all this side is going to look like. But I'll put the bare bones down in just a moment. But pretty much I've just got one-way roads which are leading in and out, and I think the use of the 2 bridges, I feel like this makes a bit of sense. I reckon that this, and it was, the original road, the original bridge that would have stretched across, and then they've added in the second one, just utilizing this one-way road, and I think that would work pretty well in a real-life scenario. And it is getting traffic from either side of the river across pretty well. I reckon at some stage we might add a second one along here, and of course we do have the highway, but I reckon at some stage he might even get a little bit closer. We'll just have to see what ends up happening around here, but that is working pretty well. And yeah, like I said, we'll detail it up at a later stage when we actually work around this area. There is going to be quite a bit over here, by the way, probably about a similar size. And Not quite as historical, but we'll still add a whole bunch of these types of buildings. Nonetheless, look at this. I just added this guy in, and that is tying all this up really well. So, love it. Utilizing a lot of roundabouts because Europe is pretty good on roundabouts. So, that's what I'm doing down here as well. And at this point, I don't know if I can even blame any of these problems due to traffic anymore, because I think that traffic is flowing very easily around all this. So I'm happy with that, and it's looking pretty good. All right, you know what I want to do before we start working on something else over here? Let's just add in the barest of details, just so it looks somewhat pretty. And then I'm going to call it a day over this side, at least for now. And I think that is the extent I'm going to do down here, at least for a little while. I will come back to this area at some point, but I reckon that's enough just to tie it all up. A big park around here would be nice, so that's kind of like the general idea, but we'll have to come back to this and fix them up and make it look way nicer. I want to place down something that I think is really necessary for a couple of reasons. We need another hospital, but we also need a hospital because, man, it is a really nice asset. I have placed it down before just to get an idea of what it looks like, and it's beautiful. Now, I was going to figure out whereabouts I want to place it. I want to place it down because it is going to be very much a feature, and I think that it's another building that I think people would come to our city to get, take some photos and just have a little sticky beak at. Now, I'm trying to figure out whereabouts to put it. I kind of want it to be front and center and a real focal point. So I don't want to hide it away anywhere in particular. And I've got 2/3 places in mind. Just here, but I don't think I'm going to place it there. It doesn't feel quite right. Number 2, it's a bit of a tight squeeze, but there, that's kind of front and center. But then in saying that, it also feels a bit awkward. I think I'm going to place it right here. Now, this is a problem for a couple of reasons. It's a problem because it's not a perfect fit, and it's also a problem, and this is the main problem, but this is quite an important road. This road is our janky connection to the highway, and it feels like a somewhat important road. Even though it kind of stretches up this way, I know that most people are going through here and then connecting up to our historical center. So, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to change that to King Street. King Street makes a bit more sense, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that road, and we'll remove all these guys. There's no point having a roundabout there at this point, so we'll get rid of that. And then I'm going to start changing King Street into... Is this called an artillery road? I should probably know this, but hey, I'm no City Planner Plays. And I know it's a bit janky and it's not totally right, but that makes more sense. That's going to encourage people to travel along this road into more heart and center. And I also think that it kind of just means there's less intersections on what this road is going to become a very busy road. Just to keep in mind that at some point, this is going to be a road that's going to be connecting up multiple places. So, you know, I do need to keep it somewhat free. But that does keep it free so that we can add in that beautiful looking hospital. Gee whiz, I love that. That is such a nice looking building. And I have no regrets for plopping down the extra wing. I think it looks lovely. Now, I don't think though I think I was overestimating how much of a tourist attraction this would be. Nah, this is just a hospital, which is so fine. What I'm going to do though is, and this might be very un-European, but I am going to add in an extra parking lot because I do think that we need something like this for a hospital like this. We got a little one in there, but that feels like that's for staff. So let's add one for visitors. I mean, this is lazy mode. I should probably do a custom one, but I'm gonna be honest. I've got my eyes set on that Notre Dame, and I would really like to place them down sooner than later. So I am just gonna place down the most simplest of stuff. I'll just remove all these guys. We've got the demand for it. Probably shouldn't do this, but I am gonna. And it's actually becoming pretty interesting down here. It's becoming this really interesting gap between what is like so close quarters, being the downtown of... I switch between calling it a town and calling it a city, and never calling it its actual name because I still don't know how to pronounce it. But it's kind of interesting because this is now becoming an area that is full of these like buildings that are just covering full blocks, you know, besides this little space here, which I'm still not even sure about, because I do feel like this is the sort of area that is just designated for parks and whatever this was, and a hospital. And I think that now that we've got all of these large buildings going on in this large space, I think that this needs to be removed, and this needs to be probably more in line with this. It's not gonna happen today because, like I said, I'm laser focused on tourism and that Notre Dame, but at some stage I'm gonna remove this and I'm gonna place it down in a space like this. Hey, $2, that doesn't fit there. Nah, you're right, it doesn't. But I am gonna make like a historical little graveyard, and that's what that will be. And we'll probably push something like this out in an area like over here. I was just trying to find another word for this. By the way, I did actually add all these houses around here, and I feel like these ones are probably a little bit more to stay. I've even gone the extra effort and put in a custom little overlay just to change the road color, and I really like it. So I am happy with that. I'm going to keep it probably. I don't think it's going to change. All right. I am actually going to go make a drink, and I just want to make some money. I want that Notre Dame. I want tourism. Let's take this home. Okay. That is not quite enough time, but that is enough time because I am going to take out a loan and I'm going to place down this thing and it's going to be glorious. While I was waiting for the money to roll in, I did make this little plaza, and look, I'll be honest, it's a bit half-assed, and I might come back down here and fix them up because this could be a lot more epic and interesting than it is at the moment. Hey, I didn't place that down there. All right, fine. I guess we probably do have a bit of a housing issue. All right, that's a pretty good spot for it anyway. So a bit of money at... Not exactly enough, but I think with a loan, if my calculations are correct, and I better save it because this could be terrible. Okay, with a loan, we might have enough money to buy the Notre Dame. And, oh geez Louise. Yeah, okay, so the loan, not quite. Not quite. Oh boy, and I'm not even making enough money to cover the loan. That's embarrassing. I do have enough money to buy it, but far out, $280,000 a month just as the upkeep. Let's just see what happens. I mean, at the moment, it's not looking good. This is not a wise investment. And unfortunately, I will have to get rid of my little corner as much as I like it. Yeah, it's gotta go. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna place him... I know this is like not the right spot. I know you don't like it, but I think I would prefer to have a little more room around here. Oh, and that's a big boy. Yeah, it's pretty big, but I'm going to flesh out the city anyway. Like, this is not its final stage. There is still more to come, so I think it will fit in at some stage. However, I don't even think I can even afford it at this moment. Perhaps I'll make some money at some point. Can I make some changes, some adjustments? All right, let's just see what happens. Whoa, look at this moneymaker. Yeah. You want to know my secret? Hit in the next milestone. I mean, I don't really know what changed. I'm like going through the finances here and trying to figure out what is the difference. And maybe people are just paying more tax. Maybe I'm charging money for different services. Did that change? I honestly could not tell you, but something happened and now I am all of a sudden making money. So, and quite a lot of money. Now, that's probably because they are about to throw a whole bunch of extra things at me. Like, I probably do need to take care of certain services that I have completely neglected. The trash is piling up, so that is definitely something I need to get a little bit ahead of. So, making money is a good thing. I am now spending an absolute fortune for the Notre Dame, and I am paying a fortune in just repaying back that loan. But hey, that's all fine, because I do think that this works pretty well, and the city is only going to get bigger. It's definitely creeping from a town to a small city, and I have to admit, I like the fact that the church, the cathedral, the Notre Dame is front and center, and it is the tallest, which is, I think, something that is important. So, it needs some work. We need to detail it up. Before I do that though, check out the tourism, my friends. Look at that, just a big pocket of green. And I love that it's combined with these parks that I got scattered around. I have placed down, it's manual, I've done it manually, but I've placed down a hotel and I don't love it. But I am going to place down a couple more just so I can get some hotels around. And I'm going to do it by hand because I just think that it's better to choose the types of, you know the drill. Come on guys, you know the drill. Now it's starting to look a little bit more complete. There are obviously areas that I would like to get into and work out just where certain buildings are going to sit and just the smaller details, but as a whole, I feel like we are at a pretty good point. You know, I feel like this is looking pretty good. Obviously a lot of areas still to work out, but it's definitely getting there. And the more I look at it, the more I sort of feel like I want to expand out a bit further into some of these areas around here, and there are a couple of farms which are a little too close for the sort of city that I'm going for. Very, very small city, like just a city. So I have been going through and adding in some little motels and hotels here and there. Some are getting some businesses, some are still unoccupied, which is really interesting because we did have a whole bunch of people that were staying in some of the ones that were growing, but for these ones, no one. It could be because this is a level 5, so maybe it's having a hard time getting people to come in, but I'm just going to commit to it. I'm going to keep them down there, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And it's the same for these guys. Like, I mean, that's a level 2, and there's still nobody staying here. Whereas the one right next door is, oh, actually, hold on. The level makes no difference. Look at this guy. This guy's pretty much all the way up the very top, and we've already got 6 people staying there. So not heaps, but a few. But like you know, it's more the detail. It's more just seeing two little places like that side by side, right next to the beach. Even if people aren't staying there, I mean, if people are staying there, that would be the cherry on top. But look, it's fine. I'm okay with that. I've also been going through and adding some people just standing in the water, just for fun. A couple more Sully guys. Oh, so good. So I've just been adding in so much detail today. It's been quite a lot of fun. But yeah, heaps of little hotels. I don't know how you feel about this guy right here. I mean, no one's staying here, unfortunately. Far out. But I don't know how you feel about him because he did take the place of a historical building. So I have been trying to make sure that a lot of these hotels that I'm placing down are more in areas that, you know, didn't really have any sort of historical building. These just had a couple of houses, and felt like that kind of made a bit more sense. This guy too, no one. Jeez Louise, that's annoying. And then 48 for this. which is like pretty much in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know, maybe we just need to give it a bit more time, but time is not on our side because we are now back to plummeting money. It's mostly because I've taken out an extra loan just to place down another tourist attraction, and just to see, like, I'm not going to keep this save. I've placed down pretty much all the little bits of detail, and then I just had a little play and placed him down just to see if it made a big difference, and it really did. Those tourist attractions and the landmarks are where the green is at, you know? That is what's happening. Whereas when I'm placing down the little parks, it's pretty much doing nothing. So I would really love to get back down here and place down some landmarks that would fit in an area like this, but it is a bit of a stretch to figure out which ones are going to work because I don't really want to place many of these. I think the medieval castle would be a lot of fun, but I also feel like, I don't know, that might be better suited for the UK, so we'll have to see. But you know, in an area like this, these buildings, in my mind, are tourist attractions. These are landmarks, so to be able to have something of like a little cube that I could just splice into one of these buildings and call that a landmark, I would be really happy with that. And I'd be totally happy paying prices like what I paid for the Notre Dame and even having to pay for all the maintenance. That is so fine. But I just would love to be able to splice something in there just so it kind of acted a little bit more like a landmark. That would be just so much fun. However, in saying all that, in all those grumbles, it is still really cool to see people coming into the city. They have to drive. We have no buses, no trains. So people are making the journey in, and that is just always fun to see. Like, I guess people just doing little road trips, and you know, I always really enjoy that. And especially for a place like this, which is primarily focused on tourism, even though we do need to add some extra bits and pieces, that's exciting. But you know what? Not all the places on a map are going to be all about tourism. The next place that we build is going to be a German city, and I don't think the theme is going to be tourism. I reckon we take on a different theme. What do you guys reckon? What should we do for it? But yes, I am excited for the German pack, and I'm excited to check out all those assets. So that'll be the next episode. But guys, what do you think of our little French town, our tiny little city, and what else can we add down here? There is still quite a lot of space to expand. Not too much space, but a bit of space. So I'm excited to expand him out and see what else we can get up to. But hey guys, thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode. It is always very much appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Before I go, I want to give a special shout out to the wonderful people over on Patreon for making videos like this possible. Skekek Wolfgang, Andy Jones, Kirsten Euter, Justin Stedek, James Lester, Eric Moody, Bart, Edward Kim, Ken Inch, Ken Comma, and Saga. Cheers legends, see you all in the next one.